All right, Bulls Nation, we are just a few days removed from the 2025 NBA Draft Lottery taking place right here in Chicago. The Bulls, after another play-in tournament exit, are back in the lottery, but towards the bottom of it. 12th specifically. All right, gentlemen, we know that the Bulls have an 8% chance of jumping into that top four, a less than 2% chance of the number one overall pick, and the right to draft Duke phenom Cooper Flagg. General, just like vibe check. How are we doing a few days away? We saw the Blackhawks fall from second to third in their NHL draft lottery earlier this week. The Bulls are up next.
They're up next.
Let's go.
I am operating that they won't be moving up. But you know me, I mean, this is a hope and luck time. Mm-hmm. So that's all I'm about in this situation because that's all I'm going to hold on to.
That's all you have.
So, yeah, I'm hoping and I'm wishing that they move up to a top four pick. I'm not going to even be greedy and say number one. But, you know, yeah, top four would be great. But, yeah, if we're talking reality of this without the hope and luck, I think they'll be where they are.
Yeah, I think the odds are just so small of them moving up. I mean, you look at what the actual numbers are, 1.7% chance to move up to number one, 1.9% chance to move up to number two, 2.1% chance to move up to three, and a 2.4% chance to move up to number four. They do have a decent chance to move down to 13, 6.6%. That would only happen if either the Kings or the Hawks jump up in the lottery. And then a very small chance that both of those teams jump up, which would push the Bulls back to 14. So 85% chance that the Bulls are going to be drafting 12th overall. And I've been digging into the draft, into the prospects, putting together this year's database for our draft coverage at All City. And, you know, I feel like the gap between the 5th or 6th best player in this prospect and the 12th best player, they're all kind of in one tier to me so far. It's early. I'm going to do a lot more film review, but just from what I've seen right now, I don't think it makes a huge difference in terms of the talent drop off. But obviously you'd love to have your pick of the litter, right? And so being like left with the last one maybe takes some of that, decision-making power away from you, which could be good because it's like you just get who you get. And if he's in that tier, that's your guy. But of course, like, you know, getting into the top 2 would really be franchise changing. Sure. 3 and 4 would be really great to add to the young core that the Bulls already have. But as we know, the odds of that are quite small.
I think if the Bulls, if we were pretty sure on what this team was and what they had, and if they were going in at number 12 and they were that kind of team, then I would be completely comfortable. Mm-hmm. But going in at number 12, knowing the holes that they have, the unanswered questions, we don't know who's going to fit where or do what. That's what kind of changes, you know what I'm saying, how you think about what the Bulls and what they can do in this draft. And that's why you bring in the hope and the luck, you know, for this. So you want to get a top 4 pick because that's just what they truly need. They don't have that guy. And drafting at number 12, usually you don't get that guy. You can find really great players. You found one last year at number 11, and we're going to wait on his development and see what he becomes. But usually that's historically, you know, and that's a will of numbers, guys. Historically, that's not the case at number 12.
And I like the context of where the Bulls were last year, picking 11th. And you and I were just talking about this. After his rookie season, which obviously the role increased substantially over like the back third, with him being inserted into the starting lineup, Matas Buzelis falling in their laps at 11, a year now into that happening, feels like the Bulls got really lucky. Sure. They didn't jump up in the lottery, but in a different way. They got lucky because Matas inexplicably fell as far as he did to number 11. And Bulls fans, I think consensus, feel really good about Matas' future right now as a potential like solid piece of their core moving forward, whether or not that includes Josh Giddey and Kobe White for many more years to come. I think everybody feels like it includes Matas now because of what we saw from him, especially at the tail end of his rookie year. Now the question is, in a draft class, again, like last year's, that is, you know, not necessarily super deep with like, oh yeah, these are all bona fide, he's going to come into the NBA and play right away kind of players. Mm-hmm. You wonder as a Bulls fan, like, can we get that lucky again as far as like finding a quality player if they do stay at 12, as opposed to getting lucky and jumping up into the top 4? Because AK said at his trade deadline press conference, like, you know, if we make the playoffs with these young guys, great. If we don't and we're higher in the lottery, great. Either way, I know we're going to add a good player, you know, referring to the draft. It's like, personally as a Bulls fan right now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't say with all confidence in the world that, oh, yeah, they're going to add some stud player to their core with the 12th pick if they stay there.
I think they will add somebody who can be part of the core moving forward. Like, to me, it's all about what are your expectations for where you want the Bulls to go and where you think they're actually headed. If your goal is to try to make the playoffs, and that's like what the bar has been lowered to by Arturis, then yeah, like this is a group that can get there. This is a group where your core is certain. You do feel confident that Kobe, Giddey, and Matas are the guys that you have moving forward. Maybe you bring in another piece that can complement there. You make some trades around the fringes over the next year or two. That's the group you're moving forward with. If your goal is to try to win a championship, then you start to have a lot more questions. But I just don't think that the Bulls are thinking that far ahead right now. I think they're thinking one step forward, which is getting to the actual playoffs, which is something that they failed to do the last 3 years. And I do think that they could be able to find a contributor, but I don't think this is going to be, I can't remember if it was 2022 was the draft where it was like Jalen Williams was the 12th pick. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to find that kind of guy that's like fringe all-star, franchise pillar at that spot. But as you said, Matt, like Matas fell to 11. I had him 5th or 6th overall on my board last year. Most mock drafts, mine included, had him 5th overall. Like he slipped all the way to 11. And I think when we talk about parity in the league, I think when teams view prospects like that, maybe the guy does fall.
Yeah, it could happen.
So just a quick look at that full table, Katie, if you want to throw that up, as far as who has those best odds in the lottery on Monday. Utah, Washington, and Charlotte finishing with those 3 worst records in the league this season, each with a 14% chance at the number 1 overall pick and just slightly above a 52% chance to stay in that top 4. The Pelicans rounding out that top 4 with a 48% chance of staying top 4, 12.5% chance to jump up. When you look at the records of, obviously, so Bulls and Mavs both bowed out of the play-in tournament, both 39 and 43. The Bulls lost that coin flip to the Mavs that happened about a week ago, whatever that was, so that Dallas is at 11, the Bulls are at 12. Portland with 36 wins, as well as Phoenix in those 10th and 9th spots. Then you get to San Antonio with 34 wins, Toronto at 30. Toronto is 7th in the lottery. We're talking about maybe around the All-Star break, and the Bulls had started to lose a bunch of games, if y'all recall, after the Zach trade. The new guys were getting, worked into Billy's rotation, and there were some struggle bus, games for a while there. At one point, I think they fell to as many as 14 games under 500. We're like, all right, if the Bulls can still manage 6th or 7th in the lottery, that's not terrible. Then you're still talking about somewhere between 30 and 40% chance of jumping up into the top 4. Now, we all know what happened down the stretch. The Bulls prioritized wins instead of lottery odds and ping pong balls. And now it's like, man, those teams that we were talking about, them maybe finishing ahead of in the lottery, Brooklyn, Toronto, the Bulls came nowhere close to that.
Yeah, and that's where I was kind of going to go. I'm concerned about those teams going into next year now because, Philly is not going to be like that again. And Brooklyn is going to get better because of their player. Toronto, I thought, if they wanted to, could have been a better team.
And they added Brandon Ingram.
Exactly. But they were like, no, I'll stay because they understood their bigger picture of what they wanted to do. So those teams aren't going to be the same. You can even look at Washington and say they won't be the same team if they get another high draft pick and continue to play well because they were playing well down the stretch. So, yeah, man, the Bulls are in such an interesting and crazy position. You'd rather be the Dallas Mavericks drafting at 11 because the Mavericks know who they are. So adding a nice player fits well. I think of guys like Derek Lively immediately when I think of this. So the wish you Bulls were in that position. They're just not. So all I got for you right now, baby, is hope and luck.
I will say, I think that there's some real potential for some trades in the back half of the lottery this year.
Okay.
You look at a team like Dallas, who's very much all in on the present. Obviously, Kyrie tearing his, was it ACL or Achilles? I can't remember.
I think it was ACL.
I think ACL. That sets them back. But like Portland, they've got a core. They just drafted a center. I don't think they're going to be doing that again. You have Scoot. You have Shaden Sharp. You have Denny Avdia, Toumani Camara. That's a core that you have there. And so I don't know that they're going to be like really gung-ho about drafting another, young piece that could like maybe be a rotation player. They might try to go big game hunting a little bit, so to speak, and try to bring in a guy that can slot some of those other guys into a better position. Same with like Atlanta. San Antonio's got 2 picks. Maybe they try to move up. So I think there could be a lot of movement. And I think like the Bulls could try to jump up and, into that top 10 if they have a guy that they like there. Let's say Portland is trying to move back or Houston is trying to move back. Like, could you package your pick plus something else to try to move up and get your guy, whether that's Kamen Malawach or Derek Queen, to try to figure out the center of the future, or even, a rotation player on the wing?
Well, we'll find out where the Bulls are drafting in the 2025 NBA draft in just a few short days. That'll do it for this mini pod of CHGO Bulls. If you want all of our full-length episodes, make sure you subscribe to that CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about the latest NBA mock drafts from across NBA publications over the next couple of days. Tune in.